Hey, this is Ari, and in this video, I want to share a little clip from a podcast I recently did with Dr. Stephanie Estima. She is a personal friend of mine, and she's absolutely brilliant at what she does, which is optimizing women's health and specifically how to optimize your nutrition and physical training to optimize female hormones and work with the natural cycles of female hormones. So I highly, highly encourage you to check this clip out, first of all, and also click the link below, listen to the full podcast. Enjoy.
We're assuming that your cycle is about 4 weeks. It's about 28 days. And the only reason why we're doing 28 days is because I can't do math and it divides evenly by 7, which is a week. Okay. So a normal menstrual cycle can be longer than 28 days. It can be up to 35 days is considered normal. 26, 27, up to 35. So we're just going to generally speak in weeks. Of course, if your menstrual cycle is longer than 28 days, then you're just going to divide it into those 4 quadrants. Okay. So week 1 of your menstrual cycle is what we call the bleed week. So this is, what, we traditionally call your period, right? All your hormones here, this is when you are shedding the endometrial lining. Your estrogen levels are low, your progesterone levels are low, testosterone level, everything is low because you're just like you're shedding the organ, you're shedding the endometrial lining. This is, just as a side, this is a great time for you to play with fasting. And we'll get into the different types and the different lengths and the different frequencies of fasting in a moment. But the first 2 weeks in general of your cycle, you are much more resilient. It is a much more hormonally resilient time for you to be experimenting with fasting or fasting mimetics like a ketogenic diet. And we'll get into what constitutes an appropriate ketogenic diet for women. But just in the back of your mind, the first 2 weeks, great for fasting, great for keto. Week 2 is the week before you ovulate. So I actually think that we have the naming of the menstrual cycle all wrong because the main point of your menstrual cycle is not to bleed. The main point is to ovulate. So I actually think that ovulation should be your week 1. Like when you ovulate is week 1, but there's no clear and distinct marker like blood is. So I just wanted to make that little note that the point of your menstrual cycle is not to have a period or not to bleed. The point is to ovulate. And between days 7 and 14, you're seeing estrogen's first rise in that 28-day cycle. So estrogen is a potent growth factor. She is trying to mature the follicle and the egg within it. And we are also seeing a rise in testosterone. So this is really important. And I'll come back to this when we talk about training, but this is, if we're talking about profiting from testosterone, like testosterone is involved in keeping our lean body mass high. It's involved in fat burning. This week is my favorite time in the whole cycle to do very heavy resistance training. So we'll come back to that. But I wanted to just mention testosterone comes up this week. This is when we feel really flirty, really sexy. This is when we want to have a lot of sex because Mother Nature is a smart, she's a wily minx. Like she knows that the egg is coming around day 14. So if she can get sperm in and around the egg, we know that sperm lasts for about 6 to 7 days on either end. So you're going to feel flirty, sexy, extroverted in that week. So it's just a good little reminder. So if you want a baby, this is the time where you should be ramping up your sex. And if you don't want a baby, then we want to be thinking about other ways that you can be having fun with your partner or yourself.
Then you have to suppress all of your biological urges and everything nature is telling you to do.
Right. I mean, and there's other things that you can do other than penetration, but yes, that would be the week, like just depending on what your goals are, baby or no baby, you want to modify your behavior appropriately. So then we have the main event. We have luteinizing hormone, which I always liken to that, awkward uncle that comes in, like smacks everybody on the back when they come in for Easter. And then you just kind of like spit your food out. At least, I have an uncle like that. So that's luteinizing hormone. And now we have the egg. Okay. So now she's out and she's waiting for fertilization. So in that third week, now we are moving into the second 2 weeks of your menstrual cycle. So it's called the secretory phase, or the luteal phase of your cycle, because now the follicle becomes, I always call it the artist formerly known as the follicle. It's now the corpus luteum. So the luteum is now going to be secreting progesterone and other things. So we'll get to progesterone in a minute. So week 3, your entire hormonal milieu changes. So now we go from being sexy and wanting lots of sex and being extroverted and flirty and all that. And now we tend to, in terms of personality and hormonally, we tend to become more inward. Metabolism changes during this time as well. So we're starting to see progesterone, and I have it on the slide here, which is the purple line. We're starting to see progesterones rise during these last 2 weeks. So she peaks at about day 21, so end of the third week, beginning of the fourth week. And we know that progesterone is a potent stimulator of your appetite, slows down your bowel movements, can affect your mood as well. So for any woman who thinks that she is crazy or there's something wrong with her because she has more cravings in her third or fourth week, it's not you, it's progesterone. She is the dominant hormone in this 2 weeks here. And in week 4, this is the week right leading up to your period. So at about day 21, we said progesterone peaks, and then over the course of the next 7 days, or it's really the next 3 or 4 days, if there's no fertilization of the egg, progesterone drops. And then that's when we start to get, what ends up happening is we get ischema of the endometrial lining, and then the lining dies. And then that's when we start to shed it. And then, week 1 starts again. But in week 4, what I wanted to say is most chronic issues. So if you are a type 2 diabetic, or you have irritable bowel, or you suffer from PMS or PMDD, these are the times when this last week, all of that is going to be amplified. You are going to feel like you are more inflamed, and we'll get into some of the particulars in terms of potential hormonal derangements that can amplify that. But just know that in the last week in particular, you have increased metabolic demands. You are utilizing glucose, you are utilizing amino acids, you're utilizing free fatty acids at a much higher rate than you are at any time of the month. So it is an appropriate response to increase your caloric consumption during this time, because everything is going, whether you want to or not, all of your energy as a woman, your sex hormones are going towards creating or going to perpetrate the thickening of this endometrial lining in anticipation of pregnancy.
Hey, this is Ari. I hope you enjoyed this video. And one more thing before you go. Actually, 2 more things. One is, if you enjoyed this particular little clip, the link to the full-length podcast is in the description down below. So make sure to check that out. Also, one more thing. Let me ask you a question. What if I could show you how to double your energy levels and dramatically improve your brain function, reducing your anxiety and depression to a degree on par with antidepressant drugs, but without the side effects? Sound pretty interesting? Well, there are, in fact, numerous compounds that can do this, that have been shown to do this. And I'll take you through just a few of these very briefly. One of them is rhodiola rosea. And this has been shown in studies, rhodiola rosea extract in people with stress-related fatigue and exhaustion, to cut their levels of fatigue and brain fog in half in less than a month. Just this one compound. There's another compound in my formula Energenesis called NT factor phospholipids that's been shown to help repair mitochondrial membranes and mitochondrial health to the level of healthy 29-year-olds, taking people with deteriorated mitochondria who are over the age of 65, restoring it to the level of healthy 29-year-olds. And that has been shown in numerous studies in various types of chronic fatigue, aging-associated chronic fatigue, obesity-related chronic fatigue syndrome, to increase energy levels by 30 to 45% in the span of 4 to 12 weeks, depending on the specific study. So dramatic improvements in a very, very short period of time. 2 more compounds that are amazing, I highly recommend, that are in my formula Ultra Brain, along with Rhodiola rosea. Saffron extract. This has been shown to increase levels of, improve your mood, I should say, and decrease levels of depression on par with fluoxetine, which is Prozac. And not only that, but with fewer side effects. It's much safer and much less likely to cause negative effects than antidepressant drugs are. Acetyl L-carnitine is another compound that's been shown to dramatically improve brain health in older adults. It also improve energy levels in older adults with chronic fatigue by between 40 to 50% in just the span of 2 to 4 months. And the last thing I'll mention here is acetyl L-carnitine has also been compared to antidepressant drugs and been shown, like saffron, to be as effective as antidepressant drugs in combating depression, but without the harmful side effects that so often occur with the drugs. So this is just a small sampling of the over 35 compounds that are in my formulas, Energenesis and Ultra Brain, that are all proven to dramatically improve energy levels, mitochondrial health, and brain health, and much, much more. And I highly recommend that you go check these out. If you're struggling with depression or anxiety or brain fog, if you're struggling with stress-related exhaustion and burnout, if you're struggling with chronic fatigue, go check out these formulas, give them a shot. I promise you are going to be blown away by the results. And like I said, the science has already proven that these things work. So you don't have to just take my word for it. There's lots of research to support that, and I'll even link to some of that research down below so you can verify everything that I just said for yourself. So the links to those studies will be in the description for this video down below. So check them out. Check out the formulas on theenergyblueprint.com. Again, Energenesis is the mitochondrial formula, and Ultra Brain is our brain formula. Check them out, try them out, and I think you're going to be blown away by the results. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.